I actually liked the 1988 film Urban Legend. It was really a real fright fest. Well, in a way. But what about sequel? Now I ask you because we know this here's tagline Legends Never Die. But is the sequel to the 1988 film really that bad after 25 years? Well, in ways it is, but maybe I can defend this. Prepare yourselves. Here's my review of Urban Legends Final Cut. Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. So, greetings, my fellow YouTubers, and welcome again to Big D's Entertainment Rankings and Reviews. I'm the Big D, and this time around, I bring to you a review of the 2000 slasher flick Urban Legends Final Cut, released by Columbia for Phoenix Pictures, directed by John Ottman in his directorial debut, where he also edited and composed the film's score. The film stars Jennifer Morrison along with Matthew Davis, Hart Bochner, Joseph Lawrence, Anthony Anderson, and Loretta Devine, who comes back from the first film. It's a sequel to the 1998 film and second installment of the series. It follows a film student being stalked by a serial killer in a fencing mask who begins up murdering the crew members of her thesis film about urban legends. The film is an international co-production film between the US, Canada, and France. It was released on this day, September 22nd, 2000, henceforth today's the film's 25th anniversary. Though it was a slight success, but unfortunately made only half as much as its predecessor made, but it really got dissed even harder than that film. But if you have not seen my review of Urban Legend yet, you can check it out by clicking on that card and go to it. Okay, here we go. After conversing with security guard Reese Wilson about a murder spree that happened on the campus where she had previously worked, Amy Mayfield, a student at a prestigious film school, Alpine University, is inspired to make her thesis film about a serial killer murdering in the fashion of urban legends. Meanwhile, fellow student Lisa has a drink with classmate Travis Stark at a bar before her fight. Flight, excuse me. Starting to feel dazed, she is attacked and awakens in a bathtub filled with ice, discovering that her kidney has been removed. Attacked by her abductor, she tries to flee through the window but is decapitated. The next day, Amy is preparing to shoot her film, but the assigned cameraman, Toby Belcher, quits and accuses her of stealing his thesis idea. When Sandra Petruzzi, Amy's actress friend who played the victim in the scene, returns to an empty studio after forgetting her keys, she is killed with a straight razor. Her peers witness her film death when the material is smuggled into a sequence of takes of the scene. Amy is disturbed by it, but her peers discount it as part of a show reel. Travis is said to have committed suicide in the campus tower. At his funeral, Graham Manning, the son of a Hollywood director, offers to help Amy with her film. When she declines, he reveals that her father was a famous documentarian, which she has concealed from most of their peers. Afterwards, Travis's twin brother Trevor shares his belief that his brother was murdered. Later, while Amy is recording audio loops of screams for the film, the killer, wearing a fencing mask, fatally beats replacement cameraman Simon Jabusco outside with his own camera, and the audio is inadvertently recorded. He then attacks and chases her through the campus, but she evades him. Before the filming of another scene in an empty carnival ride, sophomores Stan Washington and Dirk Reynolds are attacked and electrocuted while preparing the set. Amy discovers the corpses, escapes a confrontation with the killer, and informs the police, who attribute the deaths to accidental electrocution. Trevor comforts Amy, and during their period of sexual intercourse, he suddenly stabs her. She awakens, realizing that it was only a dream, but then notices a light inside the bell tower. When Amy arrives there, her friend Vanessa Valdian presents a note addressed to her that Amy supposedly wrote expressing romantic feelings for Vanessa, but Amy denies writing the note. The killer startles them and pursues them after Amy presses a panic button. Once upstairs, the two girls hide in a closet, but the killer discovers them, grabs Vanessa, and locks Amy in. Trying to get out, she discovers the corpses of Simon and Sandra. Managing to break down the door, she finds Vanessa's corpse hanging from the bell. Amy runs out, passing Reese, who was notified of the disturbance via the campus security system. Now I'm going to go to the final act and the ending, so you better stop this video immediately. Go to the description box below, fast forward to the time below, and as I start to count down now, starting right now, if you have seen this movie, please continue. Okay, you've been warned. Trevor tells Amy all the victims worked on Travis's system. After watching some footage, they suspect Toby, the only person who worked on the film that is still alive, kidnapped him and summoned Professor Solomon to an empty film set to present their suspicions. However, Toby reveals that he never went anywhere near Travis's film. Graham encounters the confrontation, and in the confusion, Solomon reveals himself as the killer, attempting to frame Amy and usurp the Hitchcock Award, which includes a large stipend. No, wait, stipend. I'm sorry. By presenting Travis's film as his own. In the ensuing melee, Amy wrestles his gun from him and holds him at gunpoint. Reese stumbles upon the scene and a standoff occurs. Solomon leaps at Amy, who discharges the gun in his abdomen. At the Hitchcock Awards ceremony a few months later, Trevor attempts to accept the award on his brother's behalf. As he goes on stage, Reese shoots production assistant Kevin, who appears as a sniper in the rafters. The altercation is revealed to be a scene in Amy's new film, Urban Legends, on which Toby and Graham are working on her behalf. Later, Solomon, now using a wheelchair, is in a mental institution where, after he watches Amy's film, a nurse, who happens to be Brenda Bates from the original film, asks him if he enjoyed the movie. She wheels him out, explaining that they have a lot in common in the story. So what did I think of Urban Legends Final Cut? Well, it's okay and what have you. It's no, I've watched it a few times, but it's not quite as good as its predecessor, though. Sure, it does have some issues and what have you, but it does have urban legends mentioned, or well, several of them. But I'm not going to give out too many of those, but I'm just going to tell you it was really, yeah. Some of the kills were okay and what have you, some were not that great. Upon its release, the film still did okay, making half as much as its predecessor, considering it to be a moderate success, making 38 million worldwide on its $14 million budget. And that grossed about half of what the first film brought in, with 72 million. Although unlike its predecessor, it topped the box office. But its critical response was more terrible than that film. It sits at a mere 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, saying this teen horror movie brings nothing new to an already exhausted genre, and it's bad, really bad. Metacritic has a score of 16, and CinemaScore gave it a D plus. Well, but I still do agree with them. I come to this one once in a while, but not a whole lot. I still prefer the original Urban Legend over the first one, over this one. The New York Times wrote the film, Ottman doesn't have the firm grasp of tone necessary to make his deliberate ambiguities seem other than simple confusion, nor the sense of humor necessary to turn the deliberate cliches into effective satire. Variety criticized the film's screenplay for being too stuffed with movie references and jokes, and that it slavishly follows in lockstep with the prior film's Ten Little Indians like plotline. That I understand and what have you. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars out of 4, declaring that the movie makes the fatal mistake of believing there is still life in the wheezy serial killer on campus formula, although he did concede that the production credits were slick and the performance is quite adequate given the narrow opportunities of the genre. Well, that's understandable. It did get nominated for a Saturn Award as Best Horror Film, but did win a Teen Choice Award for Choice Movie, Horror, or Thriller. But like I said, I feel like Urban Legends Final Cut is kind of a mixed bag and what have you. But I will say it's not really as good as its predecessor. So if you're a hardcore completionist, you're more than welcome to give this a one-time shot. But however, I think just avoid it. But I'm going to just give it a draw between give it a one-time watch only if you're a hardcore completionist or avoid it. Despite from doing the direction, John Ottman does the score for the film, which isn't too bad. We even get to hear it could have been, I think it was composed by him, his take on the Alfred Hitchcock's TV series theme song. Yeah. Anyway, now for the cast, we have Jennifer Morrison as Amy Meatfield, and she's fine. Matthew Davis plays Travis and Trevor, who, of course, after this, he would go on to appear in Legally Blonde with Reese Witherspoon, as a matter of fact. Hart Bochner played Professor Solomon. Of course, I remember this guy. He was in Terror Train and oh, just about lots of films. Yeah. He was also in Supergirl, Die Hard, Bulworth, and Anywhere But Here. He even appears Chris Harrison's dad in the Carrie remake in 2013, but unfortunately he was uncredited. Loretta Devine returns from the first film, where she once again plays Reese Wilson. Now, I will say she's good and why have you, just about like the first film. I feel like it was good to have one person back in. Joseph Lawrence played Graham. He's fine. Ava Mendez, yes, she appears as Vanessa. I will give her credit for that. Sandra is played by Jessica Caulfield, who after this would go on to appear in Valentine. We have Anson Mount as Toby, and yeah, who would do lots of shows after this. When he did some others. Anthony Anderson, this was one of three films he actually did. Before this, he did Big Mama's House, and I think right about before or after this, he was in Me, Myself, and Irene. Michael Bacall plays Dirk Reynolds. And of course, he later went on to co-write Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Project X, the 2012 movie, and 21 Jump Street, as well as its sequel, 22 Jump Street. So anyway, and there's lots of others, and while she's uncredited, Rebecca Gay Hart returns as Brenda Bates in the end, yes. Brenda Bates is once again played by her, but of course she was uncredited. So the cast is okay in my opinion. The characters are all right too, but not as good as what we got in the first film. So again, I'd say give this a one-time watch if you're a hardcore completionist, or avoid it. There would be a direct-to-video sequel that came out 5 years later in Urban Legends Bloody Mary, which I might review that sometime down the road. So there you have it. What did you think of Urban Legends Final Cut? Let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe, and be a part of the Big D Nation. Continue to help support my channel, and you know the rest. Join me later tonight when I review another bad film that's got an anniversary, Showgirls. So if you like this, check out my reviews for some of these other films. In the upper left-hand corner, check out my re-review for a film that John Ottman actually recently did the score for, and that, well, I think for most of it. the additional music for it, and that was Halloween H2O 20 years later. Or you can go to the upper right hand corner and see my review for, well, one recent horror film that I watched this past year was last month. That was Final Destination Bloodlines, which that's a much better sequel. Or if you would like maybe another re-review, check out my re-review for a much better classics horror sequel in Friday the 13th Part 2 from 1981. And the bottom right hand corner is the button you can click to subscribe if you like rankings and reviews on movies, TV, music, video games, etc. Then I'm your guy. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm the Big D saying, see ya.